Now I need to set up the script that I will use to create a room. So I'm going to do this under UI, and I'm going to make a new folder. It's going to be called Rooms, because it is on the room scene. And then I'm going to make a new script, and I will call it Create Room. Now I'm going to drop open my canvases into Overlay Canvases and then go to Create Room. I'm going to drop my script onto that. I'm going to expand the Create Room in the hierarchy and then open up my script. I'm going to get rid of the start and update. Add a serialized field. It's going to take a text component, or if you're using Text Mesh Pro, it will take a Text Mesh Pro UGUI component. This is going to be room name. And I need to add a public void on click create room. This will be called when the create room button is pressed. You have two options when making a room. You can use create room, which will attempt to create the room. Then you have join or create room. Create room can be called if the room does not exist and you want to make a new room and ensure you're the host. If the room already exists, the create room will fail. If you use join or create room, and if the room exists, then you will join the room instead of creating it. I'm going to use join or create room. So I typed in Photon network, join or create room. And I'm going to pass in a room name, which will just be basic because it's just an example. And it looks like it expects a few parameters or arguments to be passed in. And you can see that they require the photon.realtime namespace. So I'm just going to add that real quick. I'm going to do photon using photon.realtime. That way it won't try to put those in front of every argument that I type out. So now it needs room options, typed lobby, and an expected user string, which is optional. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new room options. So I'm going to jump over to the API and talk about the most popular options you'll probably be using. So these are attributes for the room options class. You have max players, which is kind of self-explanatory. It's the number of players at most that can be in the room. You have player TTL, which is how long until it boots a player out of the room after they are disconnected. So it kind of reserves their spot until after this time. Empty room TTL is basically the same thing, except when all the players are gone, it waits this long before closing the room. And custom room properties I'll talk about later on. There are hash tables involved, and we can actually use custom properties outside rooms as well. So that's going to be for another video. So I'm only going to set the max players inside my options. So options.maxPlayers, and I'm going to set it to 4. It doesn't really have any relevance. I'm just going to drop it in there. And I'm going to pass in my options. And then it's expecting a typed lobby, so I'm going to do typed lobby .default, and I'm not going to pass in any expected users. Now I need to handle the callbacks for when I create a room or when the creation fails. So to have callbacks like before, we have to add pun callbacks to the top and widget inherits rather than the mono behavior. I'm going to go down and do public override void on created room. And I'm going to do public override void on create room failed. And I found these values just by going to the API and just searching in create room, and they were pretty easy to locate. So I know I've said it in the past, but if you're a little confused or not quite sure where to go next, checking out the API and just using a few key terms can really help you out a bit. Neither of these base methods hold code, so I'm going to delete both of them here. And I'm going to do master manager .debug console .add text created room successfully Now I'm going to pass in this, which will highlight the create room script. Now I'm going to copy that line, go down here, and I'm going to do room creation failed. And then I think I'll add in the message as well. If you skip the debug console video, you can just use regular print statements. And I actually forgot we had the room name as a serialized field, so instead of basic, I'm just going to pass in room name under the join or create room option. And I need to make sure I do room name dot text. You probably want to make sure that this value can't be empty before allowing users to try and create a room, so just keep that in mind when you work on this on your side. And as well, I'm going to change my class name to create room menu from rather just create room. With everything saved, I'm going to go back to the editor. And I already have a associated script cannot be loaded. That's because I have to rename the CS file to the class name. So I renamed create room to create room menu. And now if I go back, once it compiles, it should work. There we go. And I'm going to drop in the text component under room name input for room name right there. Then I'm going to go to my create room button. And let me just rearrange Unity here. There we go. Under the on click, I'm going to add the plus sign for a new event. I'm going to drag in create room because that's where the create room menu is. Go down to where it says no function, choose my script, and then go to on click, create room, and then save my scene. One other thing I should probably check is going back to my create room menu, which looks like it got closed out because I renamed it. So let me just reopen it. Is I should definitely make sure I'm connected before I try to create a room. So I'm going to do if not Photon network dot connected, sorry, dot is connected, return. So that way, if I'm not connected, it won't try to create a room. So I saved, and now I'm going to go back to my editor. This should be ready for testing, but I need to connect to the server before I try to create a room. And I should still have that test connect script around. So I'm just going to create a new object, label it test connect, and then add that text connect script in. Let's go over to our console. I'm going to hit play, and once the console shows I'm connected to Photon, I'm going to create a room. It doesn't matter what you call it. And I'll hit the create room button, and I can see that it is creating my room. So now we just need to show created rooms in our menu here where we made the listing for. So let's do that next.